Craig be creeping me out, Loki, sometimes. I
Now
ain't gonna lie to
recording.
y'all.
What up, Craig?
Craig is our like sound guy.
Thank you, Craig. We love our sound men.
Okay, so today we're gonna talk about music from our childhood, how it affected us, and then the music that we listen to now, and how our taste has changed.
Oh my lord.
All right.
Nice.
Alright, so who would like to go first? Because I feel like mine is pretty tame, all things considered.
We should establish like the era that we're talking about too. Like we all kind of grew up in different like eras in a way. I feel like even year to year, everything is different. Like me and Mert are only 2.5 years apart, but I'm sure the music that we grew up with is like very different.
Yeah, mine's definitely different.
I would say
Yeah.
just what you listened to as a kid, honestly.
I listen. It
Like the
depends.
stuff that you really liked.
I went through so many different phases. I feel like my first phase of music was maybe like whatever mom or dad were listening to. So like dad used to listen to a lot of like 90s techno music, and that was like some of my favorite music to listen
Very
to.
nice.
Mom also listened to a lot of like 70s soul and pop. So I had like I feel like at the start I had a pretty diverse taste in music already just from them. But then as I got older, my dad um kind of liked listening to more like Eminem and like hip hop and old school rap, and Mert kind of liked to listen to that stuff too. So as far as that, I really liked that. But then yeah, like later in my life it was angsty music. It was like how rock could we get until we got into like my scene phase, and then it was pop and punk goes pop, and and then I went back to heavy metal, and I kind of now I just listen to kind of a mix of all of it really.
Has becoming an artist yourself like changed your musical taste in any way? Like, do you listen to it differently?
Well, that's a good question.
That yeah, I actually I find that my music taste hasn't changed, but the way in which I listen to a song now has changed. Like I'll still listen to that 70s soul music. Like I don't know if you guys know Jungle, but I've been listening to like Jungle Radio, and that's put me on to like a lot of really amazing modern 70s style, like those types of like funk and like disco type of vibe, but like modernized. And so I listen to a lot of that now, mainly. But if there's anything that I don't normally listen to that's outside of my scope of taste, like country or something, I'll still listen to it and appreciate it, because I feel like as an artist now, I can kind of understand what they're doing behind the scenes. I can understand what's going on in the studio, and like I can, kind of visualize in my own studio making the song and what would go into it. So I have a much different respect for music than I used to now.
Do you listen out for certain things in music that you like now, that like piques your interest specifically comparatively to like as a kid? Like was it more like rhythm when you were a kid, or like was it message?
That's a great question, actually. Message is still insanely important to me. Lyrics are important, songwriting is important, but I think now I focus on like, do the two balance? Are we kind of talking about something, but are we also catching a vibe? So I feel like before it was like I was very extreme either way, because you still, you go through phases of like, well, this is more important. No, this is more important. I feel like when I was younger, it was like lyrics are the only thing that matter. Like if you're not talking about anything, then why are you even making music?
I went
But
to that phase,
now, yeah. But now I have more of an appreciation for the other side of it, which is like the instrumentation and the actual music. So I find that I look for songs where both of those things are evenly balanced and play off of each other well. Like for instance, I'll have a song if I love the instrumental, but the vocals are insanely deep, and maybe the lyrics are really deep, but for some reason it's not fitting in the pocket of the music. It's a song that I'm not going to like, even if the lyrics are astoundingly like poetic and deep and meaningful. If it's not fitting into the actual like instrumental of the track, I'm not gonna like it as much as if maybe the lyrics weren't super deep, but the fucking groove was there, you know?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm similar in a way. Like I'll specifically with rap, I'll like if the beat is amazing, but like the lyrics are just kind of like cookie cutter, you know, just like not about much, I would be like, okay, this is cool. But if they
Yeah.
start talking, like, okay, I'm locked in. Like, and the beat's good. Come on,
Yeah.
Bro,
That's why I'm
Kendrick
like,
be
it would have
talking.
yeah.
Kendrick Cole, like,
Yeah,
and
who are like your
then
favorite rap artists right now, Mert?
oof. I mean, Jid is just skyrocketing up there. That man is, and he's about to drop an album. I'm super excited for that.
Oh hell
Uh,
yeah.
I still really like Eminem. I mean, even his new
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
I know a lot of people are kind of they kind of choose one side or the other, old versus new.
And yeah.
Uh,
I feel like that's stupid because if you like an artist, you like them for everything that they do collectively.
hmm
I think
Yeah,
people need to understand more that like, bro, artists evolve and they change and like that's part of the beauty of art is that it evolves with you. It changes with you. Like the art that you make is your art and it's always going to change and it's always going to be, I think that there's still something beautiful in that. I hate when people get on this train of like, oh, they're not the same anymore. Like, are you this? Of course they're not. Are you the
oh,
same that
yeah.
you were 10 years ago? No, you're not.
I actually am in an opposite like plane with Eminem because I didn't actually like him before. I didn't like young Eminem, but like older Eminem since he started like just exclusively almost talking like on stuff now. Like I'm like, oh yeah, this is like his peak right now. Like he's just doing it just cuz he wants to at this point. He doesn't feel like he's got nothing to prove it anymore. And I really fuck with that. I
And
feel like his
his
best stuff has been since he started really like I don't really know when it because I don't listen to a lot of Eminem, so I don't really know like when it really started turning into that. Because I know back in the day, he had to, because of everything with like his background, he kind of had to prove for him and Dre that, he wasn't just a joke. But like are really like established him. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
his situation was interesting too because he was kind of forced to evolve because of his drug situation and all that. It kind of he had to relearn how to rap like entirely.
Didn't he
So
have to learn
new
like an
him is
entire
literally an
new
entire
version of
different
music
rap.
theory after that?
No, I mean he had to relearn how to rap basically. And then but yeah, him, J. Cole, Jid, Kendrick. I still like Logic. I've really actually
Oh, Logic.
been leaning back into the older rap music, like the '90s, 2000s less so, but like that '90s lyrical rap is like peak for me. I feel like
Do you have
Oh,
examples
it's
of
pretty good.
artists?
got Big L, DITC,
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, that sort of era.
I've like never heard of them.
Method
Me
Man,
either.
Oh, Method Man I've heard of.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
Method Man.
Souls of
Yeah, you
Mission.
have.
Good God, they're
Souls of
'93 till
Mischief,
Infinity.
bro. Souls of
Dude.
Mischief. I love them. What about Public Enemy? Bro, Public Enemy is my favorite, low key.
Oh yeah,
Y'all can say whatever you want about Flava Flav, but that man was the voice of that time. Like,
Flava Flav.
bro,
You
he
remember
was
that
that
TV show
bitch.
he had?
He was that bitch. I'm sorry.
That was more my era.
Yeah, so what do you think about like that era of like hip hop, mom? Because I know like if you're growing up, you're like a
Oh,
teenager in the 80s, rap is kind of just now becoming a thing.
yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, they had I think the rap when I was younger was really, really good. I mean, because at that point you didn't have, too many rap artists and it was more of groups. Um, like Grandmaster Flash and, all of these other groups that were coming in. But um I absolutely love the rap back then. Like you know, um, I'm so old I can't remember half
Did
the
you have like
groups,
Run
but
DMC?
Run
Um,
DMC, yeah. I was
Public Enemy was that
and
time. Cypress Hill was that time.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Um,
Cypress.
yeah, I was pretty. I
Def
don't know. My
Jam.
my musical. I mean, oh my God, mine's all over the place because I grew up with mid to late 70s music because
Mhm.
that's what mom would listen to all the time, and
Yeah.
so ABBA and
Mhm. Love
all
ABBA.
of all of these 70s
Give me a
um
man.
you know uh John Fogelberg
Oh
or
yeah.
Dan Fogelberg, excuse me.
Yeah.
And like Carole King and all these 70s artists. And then when I got into my teenage years, then that's when all the 80s, like Breakfast Club and all
Yeah.
these movies were coming out that had all of our songs in it. And um it's just I grew up with Michael Jackson and Cyndi Lauper and Rick Springfield and stuff like that. That's basically who we listen to.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I didn't really start listening to like the older stuff like Led Zeppelin and
Mm.
um all these other groups back
You
in the
listen to Def
70s.
Leppard?
Yeah,
Ah,
and
see, that's my mom too.
the Doors and like classic bands like them and Tom Petty and it's just it wasn't until I got older is when I started to appreciate the older bands,
Mhm.
um CCR and
Oh,
you
I
know
love
you
CCR.
know all of these other bands that were out when I was younger I didn't care for, but the older I got, I don't know, it was weird. It was like I flipped from one, you know, genre to the other, and and country. I liked 80s country. I don't care for the new country, but a lot of the older country songs, the 70
Yep.
late 70s, early 80s, I kind of like. But
I like
and
that. I like older country. I do.
yeah, and then Matthew, he turned me on to a lot of the generational stuff that you guys listen to now. Because
Mhm.
me being 50, 4 years old, I don't know a lot of the songs that you guys are familiar with,
Yeah.
and 'cause I don't listen to it, but we'd be in the car and he'd be listening to some. Oh, what is that? It's
Yeah.
like a rap song or a something, and they're really good songs, but because I don't, it's not my era, I don't really listen to them to know how much good music you guys actually have out there.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a learning progress, and even though I'm getting older, I still learn something new about it every single day. So
I think that's the best part about music is that you get to like learn as like it progresses. You get to see like the evolution from when you were younger to like what it's becoming.
yes, it's
And
so different.
I don't. A lot of people say like different genres are dead, but I don't really think that that's true because even
No,
today you see like I mean Bert can tell you this like you still see people like making like new versions like updated like more modernistic like versions of like disco or like
Yeah.
well,
I was
dubstep
and
and stuff like that.
yeah.
a good example of that is there's a song I really like, and I think Brittany actually sent it to me one time too. But we grew up on a song. It's from I think it was Simply Red. Um,
Simply Red. Yeah, and
it's
it's
called
a
Sun.
remake of a Hall and Oates song.
Yes, it's called Sunrise, and it's a remake of Hall and Oates, and we grew up on Hall and Oates, and like Air Supply, and all these different groups, and I found it really interesting that a lot of these like rappers and artists and stuff, they use a lot of 70s and 80s music in their songs.
Mhm. They do.
But I just
You
thought
just
that
can't replicate the 80s
no,
era. Just
No.
so good.
no. Some things just can't be, redone, but
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's partially because of the lifestyle of the 80s. You know,
Mhm.
like anybody that was born in the 90s, like yeah, we were able to go out and like play in the streets and stuff until the lights came on, but like it wasn't the same way.
No.
So like the people like us 90s kids, we don't really have the same experience that like the 80s actually offered. So I don't think
Right.
that
Oh no.
that will be able to be replicated ever again. Like for me personally, I liked we listened to a lot of country when I was a kid specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So like there are artists that like I really fuck with like Johnny Cash. Um
Yeah.
love Johnny Cash.
You like
I don't
Elvis?
like I did like Elvis actually.
I loved Elvis.
Um yeah, we that wasn't one that we listened to. I actually the only reason I actually saw or heard Elvis the first time is because I saw him one of his movies was on TV, and that's how I
Mhm.
got introduced to Elvis. That and Lilo and Stitch. Um
Oh hell
um
yeah.
yeah, so we listened to a lot of country. Other genres weren't out of the question. Mom was really big into like the 80s hair bands like Def
Mhm.
Leppard, Poison, um
Rat.
Twisted Sister. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bret
Rat.
Michaels, yeah.
Motley
Um,
Crue.
yep.
Love Motley Crue. I
So,
love
like,
Motley Crue.
when we were cleaning the house, you'd hear those, like, the 80s hair metal bands on or, like, that kinda stuff. In the
Yep.
car, occasionally, they would have, like, maybe, like, the modern music, so you'd hear, like, Three Doors Down maybe on, like, 104 or something like that. But, like, at home, it was almost exclusively country for a long time. So, like,
Yeah.
as an adult, like, I have kind of a disposition. Matt will tell you this. I have a disposition towards country. I cannot do it. I'll
Me as
listen
well.
to some Johnny Cash, maybe even
Mhm.
some George Strait, but
Yeah.
not cannot do country. Um, but as I got older, I found like a Christian rock station, and that had like a bunch of just random like metal and like heavy like songs on it. And that's
Mhm.
how I got introduced to like heavier like music. And as an adult, dude, we're talking like we're talking black metal, death metal. I love all of that
Oh
shit.
yeah, same.
Bert, did you see I put out a song?
I did not.
It's on Facebook. You gotta check that shit out. It's anti-establishment. I'm calling it punk black. It's like black metal meets punk rock.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
yeah, it's off rhythm now. So just know it's not like made to be on rhythm.
What does that mean?
You'll see. It's more of like yelling at you.
Okay, so it's just yelling.
It's a scream thing.
Huh.
Uh,
Okay.
the rhythmic patterns in the vocals are like they're not bad. Like I kind of like it in a way. But
Okay.
as far as pitch, the pitch stays pretty similar throughout. So it's like it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's like a different sound.
Okay.
I don't personally I'm not a huge fan of it, but I will tell you that that happened because you did try to help me get some of my stuff out, so I need to tell you about that.
Me?
Yeah, remember when you came over to our house that one time, we started trying to make something.
I do
I
remember that.
have
I made a whole track out of that.
yeah, I have absolutely no music instruction at all. So, that experience recently was very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's all I mean, and that's the thing about me, like I'm all self-taught. Like I've never gone to school. I mean, I would like to one day go to school for it. I think that'd be really cool. But, you
Honestly, I
know,
feel like self-taught is like that's really cool because like you'll develop instead of kind of copying what's been done, you develop your entirely new style. So like it's your own version of music.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I should rephrase that. I'm not like all self-taught. I only mean self-taught as far as like producing. Um because I did go like I was a kid in choir and band class, so I did learn
Right.
a lot of
Learn
my
the fundamentals.
stuff from there, yeah. Fundamental stuff. Yeah.
I learned basic instrumental and that was it. And I didn't retain any of that. So I have
Oh,
like
really?
literally ground zero on music stuff, even music
Mhm.
theory.
Don't give up, man.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep learning.
Yeah, dude, keep learning it. It's like it's not that hard. I mean, it's hard, but like you know, it's not
Well,
that.
I've found like over the years, like my scream didn't even come from Linkin Park. I mean, obviously that's like Chester's era is like my favorite band. Like
Ain't
is
nobody
Chester
talking
era of
to
Linkin Park.
Yeah.
But like my scream didn't even come from Chester. It actually came from Andy Black and Black Veil Brides.
Dude, I love Black Veil Brides. I fucking love them.
They're pretty
I
good.
Bro, I'm telling you, Black Veil Brides shaped my entire like 13, 14, 15, like honestly even like I would say even like 11, 12, 13, 14. Like that was
They're
my
so good.
band.
I can't
They
say I've
touched
ever
me.
heard about them.
Oh, mom,
That's a
you would
sin.
hate them.
That's a musical sin. You'd love them. Their inspiration is literally 80s hair metal.
I don't think mom would like them very much.
You don't think so? Oh yeah, that's fair. They do have some
I don't. I want to say I don't know if she would like them.
Why is that?
they have some strong imagery occasionally. Some of their lyrics is kind of
Oh well, if I can listen to Mickey, whatever the hell her name, Nicki Minaj singing "Swallow," I can listen to anything.
Oh God.
You've ever heard listen? Don't ever look up Cupcake, Mom. Don't ever look up Cupcake.
Oh,
Just
God,
do
not
us all that
Cupcake.
favor. Don't ever look that up, okay?
Oh, Cupcake
Cupcake.
is insane.
I gotta say I low key love the confidence that she has to just put out these
Oh, yeah.
songs though. She just be
No,
putting them out.
she's that girl.
Low key genius, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Which I think my favorite track by Black Veil is probably Savior.
Savior is good. Dude, they have this one though. They have one that it's only on YouTube. And it's called I'm gonna look it up right now. Black Veil Brides.
I love their cover of Rebel Yell.
Ooh.
That is
They do
an
a good
amazing
cover of
track.
that.
Andy's cover of what is it
The
called?
Gunsling. Bro,
Ooh, I
the
haven't heard that one.
Gunsling.
Familiar.
And it's not on, you can't get it on Spotify. Like you can only listen to it on YouTube. And it's like, I'm gonna send it, but it's like God, it shaped my entire view of reality. I like this is what would be playing in my head when I would watch the AMV to this. Like I would watch AMV videos to this.
Oh, dude, 3 Days Grace. Do you guys remember all of the AMVs of like
Oh,
Animal I've Become for like
dude.
Naruto or Dragon Ball?
And watching Sasuke and Naruto battle and like listening to fucking an amazing track like Animal I Have Become. Are you kidding?
Dude, oh man. This is the millennial era, Mom.
Well, I will have to say that I just feel kind of lucky because I mean I've grown up to what is it like 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, like 44 or 4 decades of you know um music. And it's like for instance, when I was younger, 12, 13, we went to Sports World. It's a skating rink, and they would play um they wouldn't only play music that was good for the time, but they'd also play a lot of stuff. They play rap. They would play When I Hear Music. They would play Ready for the World. They would just play all these um all these groups that people don't really hear about anymore, but they had really good music. And it's like we had so many artists in our era. It's just hard for me to even think about them all. Women artists, you men artists, men groups, women groups. They were all over the place. Um and women that sang not only pop, but they sang like rock. And
Yeah.
like like Lita. Um she was a blonde that she was kind of like Pat Benatar. You
Lita
know
Ford?
Lita Ford. Yeah, she was kind
Yeah.
of. And then you had another girl rock group. And I mean, there were so many that we had back then that you probably don't hear a lot of anymore. But
Mhm.
back then, I mean, they were really, really good groups. But even today, like, like, I, I think you got me hooked on Lindsey Sterling
Oh,
and,
she's banger.
Foster the People, people that I'd never even heard
Oh,
of. And,
Okay.
and I just started listening to, and, Matthew, he would play a song and I'd be like, well, who is that? And and I would look him up and I would listen to him and I'm like, it brought me into a different, a whole different era than what I'm used to. But I
mhm.
mean, it's really good music. Like, when you guys were growing up and you were listening to like Crazy Town and, you know,
Yeah.
um, and just stuff like that. It's just
Come, my baby. Come, my baby.
but
Did you know my first exposure to something outside of country when I was a kid was actually Five for Fighting Superman?
What the
never
hell
heard of
is
that.
It's the one where he's like, it's not easy being me.
it's
Hmm.
not easy. I feel like I've heard
You,
1,000 songs that say that
if
in it.
you look it up, you would know it. It's like an iconic song, but they don't play it very often because it's
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
It's like a cult classic kind of song. That was my first exposure to music that wasn't country. My
Mhm.
second one was Every Rose.
Oh no.
Was
Hmm.
who?
Every Rose Has a Thorn.
Oh,
Oh
everywhere.
yeah,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Poison. Yeah.
Poison.
Yeah, that was my second one.
Hmm.
Brett
And then it,
Michaels. That was a Brett Michaels
Yes,
solo
Lord.
song, wasn't it?
I think
I
so.
might
Or
get
was it?
flamed for this,
Huh?
but
Hmm?
I'm not a huge Bret Michaels fan. I might get slammed for it,
No,
but
no, I don't blame you. I don't. Honestly, when he's with Poison, that's his golden era. If you actually look at
Yeah.
Poison, like just look at Poison, like they only had like maybe one or two really like bangers.
Uh huh.
Well, then I think there's a lot of groups that were like that, and they had like different people, like Van Halen. First, they had um, David Lee Roth, and then after that, they had um, I can't remember his name, but he was in the band after that, and their way of music was totally different. With those two lead singers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we still have that today.
Yeah, yeah. And like, Journey, they lost,
Yep.
um Steve,
The main guy
but then they got a new guy that's, just as good and
sounds
Arnell
so it's just
exactly like him.
yeah.
Kennedy, I think is
You know
But I
that was
feel
the
really
first band I ever saw live.
me too. I was with you.
Really?
Me and Mert saw it together with Ryan.
Yeah,
Remember Ryan?
we got to see Arnell. Yeah,
yeah.
he
You
sounds
guys are gonna
just
laugh,
like
but I
that
think
guy.
I think the um only one I've seen is America.
I
That's the only live band you've seen?
Oh, except for Doobie Brothers.
Oh hell yeah, that's an amazing show right there.
I've seen Brooks and Dunn, and recently for their final US tour, I got the privilege of getting to see Sum 41, which was an amazing fucking experience. That's
Was
like
it
the
really that
first.
good? Because
Yes.
okay,
That's
I don't know
that's
why
the
I was
band
Sum
that got me
41
into punk
either.
music.
Wasn't that their
Oh
last
yeah.
show?
That was their no, it wasn't their last show in America. It was for their it was the final like actual it was the tour of the Setting
Tour.
Sun. So it was like the final tour,
Hmm.
which
So
ended a few months ago.
do you think that your genre, like, with you three, do you think your genre of music will last like some of these other, like,
No.
like Kiss and Chicago and all these that have like went through different decades and still have music? Is there any groups or bands that you guys think are gonna be like that to where they stand like over, different
Hmm.
decades?
I honestly I don't think so. Maybe Jungle, maybe Tame Impala, but maybe Doechii.
I love
Uh,
Black Veil Brides, but I also feel like they kind of they lost somebody recently due to some kind of scandal, but I feel like they if you listen to some of their newer stuff, it seems like Andy's trying to step away, kind of. So I don't think they're going to be around like for too terribly much longer. I think they'll definitely tour
Yeah.
together, but he seems to be trying to go to his own thing. And then you have bands like Rise Against that just kind of have fallen off. So like, I don't think so.
I don't think anybody even knows it. I feel like they're not even in the public eye, let alone on the verge of being revolutionary enough to carry through another decade.
Exactly.
I think that revolutionary artists are going to be, again, people like maybe like Doechii or Kendrick, people who are like really, or like Tyler the Creator. I feel like right now it's all going to be about this like weird, like, what's the word I'm trying to think of? I think it's just all going to be this new age of hip hop and rap because it is kind of like a new genre that's coming in. Tierra Whack, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like that really weird, odd, like strange instrumental type beats, with like really good lyricism. Vince Staples is another good example of that, and I think that genre is going to be the genre that's going to kind of carry through.
Exactly. I would borderline call it like experimental rap almost.
It's definitely experimental.
And
I've never heard of
that will be largely like dependent on who you ask. It's like
exactly
everyone likes their, but I think in general it will be the artists that stand out in sound or they stand out in their own genre. Those are the ones that are going to kind of carry.
Exactly. Because now it's about singular artists. It's not about like bands and like how good the drummer is and how, you know what I mean? It's not really about musicality anymore. It's really about like how weird are you? How different are you? How weird is your sound? Like what are you experimenting with? It's kind of more about that now.
And there's also so many like bands and like just rappers now, and like music in general has become so like saturated because of the internet.
Yep.
Like you have such a like back whenever music was like on the radio or like on your CD player is a lot different because you had to go to like see somebody who was trying to give out their mixtape or something to like really get exposed to like another band that was up and coming before they hit it. But now you can just go onto YouTube or SoundCloud or Spotify and you'll be able to experience these new people that are trying to like make it in the world. And it's a lot harder now for somebody to get noticed in terms of like the way done. Whereas before, like, oh, you might get lucky because you went to a bar where you performed with your band and there was just happened to be a dude that knows a guy that was there. Now it's like you got to be like constant on it because if you're not, you're losing that like that flow. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
yeah, I mean the thing about music now is that it's washed, it's like it's oversaturated. So it's not like it was, I don't want to say it was easier to be a musician back in the day, but there wasn't a lot of competition. Like you didn't have, like, if you were a great musician, you were going to be like an amazing musician because you were kind of the only person doing what you were doing at the time because there just wasn't anyone doing all of that stuff at the time. Now it's like I walk down the street and every person I bump into is a fucking musician in some way. It's like the music scene is so overpopulated and it's just people are not making music for the sake of loving music. They're making music for the sake of making money from music. And I think that's like the biggest downturn that's happened to art, and art in all forms, whether it's acting or painting or anything like that. Like it's so oversaturated and no one is doing it for the love of it. They're doing it for the fame and for the money. And I think that that's why there's not many artists that I can name for you that I think are going to carry into the next few generations, because I just don't think that people do it for the love of it anymore. And there's very few artists that do.
And then the ones that do, a lot of times they just get overshadowed. You get these people, a rap specifically, you'll have somebody who's starting to talk about like their life or like the things that's happening around them, their life experiences. And then you'll have some dude who's just rapping about sex and drugs and he'll blow up, but this other guy will just get buried in the sea of other artists. And that's a real problem for like the music industry as a whole, because that's one talent that's being just drowned out. I think Juice World is a really good example of this. Juice World got wrapped up in a life before he started rap, and then once he got into rapping and making his music, I mean, he's on drugs, he's on it, lean, alcohol, whatever, what have you, and I mean, ultimately that ended up killing him. Like we make things so rough now for anybody that's coming up, and we have these expectations of, well, you should be able to do this, this, and this, but then you have artists like that like nobody is actually listening to what they're saying. Like
Yeah.
Juice is a very good example of an artist that like could have been helped if people were actually listening to what he was saying rather than just being a fan of like, oh, it's music I can get turned to kind of
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that about Chester Bennington as well. I think if people actually listened to his lyrics more than what we did, I think that Chester also could have been helped. Or
Yeah.
Chris Cornell as well.
Yeah. I
Potentially
agree.
even Kurt Cobain. This is a real problem that's been happening since the 90s, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of the artists that you guys are talking about, but
Mhm.
I truly do think that, you know, I don't think it was really easy back then to be an artist, but like through the 70s you had and 60s, like you had different bands, and then they were beat out, when the Beatles came into play, and and then they had to fight against that kind of music. And then in the 80s you had you had these hair bands, and then they were being beat out by the grunge bands and the
Mhm.
these other artists that were coming out. And it just seemed like, through the years, it was like it seemed like there was always something new coming out, and it was kind of hard to, pick one thing that you really liked, because you were hearing so much, and so many different artists were doing so many different things. I guess that's why I feel kind of I wish you guys could have been like a teenager or a child, back in the early 80s, because we just had like we had MTV, and we had videos, and you know
Yeah.
um we had all this different stuff that, life was a little bit easier as far as music. Like, I mean, as today it's easier because, yeah, you can go on to Spotify, or any kind of online radio, and
Yeah.
listen to what you want. But back in the day,
You
if
had to
we
wait for
wanted
that shit to
music,
come on.
we sure did. We had to go get, we had to record it on our radio, a million times on a tape, or
Yeah.
you went to buy a cassette, or, you had to buy a record, and play it, on your record player, or, it was, and
There
then,
was more of an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
right. And especially when iPods and stuff like that came out, and, you know,
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that
because, yeah,
because
because when we,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, no, I was just gonna say, you know, we thought, stuff like that was really cool back then, but now with all the things they have now, it seems kind of, you know, blasé. But back in my day, it was like, heck yeah, this is pretty cool. But
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of went through something similar with the CD, the end of the CD era when the streaming
Mhm.
services finally took over. Like
yeah,
we used to rip and burn our own CDs from
Yep.
yeah, you
online.
did a lot for me, a lot of them
It
for me.
was yeah, it was either that or go to a record store and buy CDs, but a lot of us would just rip it offline and
Oh yeah,
make our own.
LimeWire.
Yeah,
Yep.
and we kind of got to see the end of that. Now it's full on streaming service, like
Yep.
and that kind of makes me wonder, like how that's going to affect the historical, uh, like how you keep music from just completely disappearing. Because
Music
any
preservation.
yeah, I mean any of these streaming services can just be like, oh well, no, they stopped paying their dues, their music's gone. You know what I mean? It's like, and if no one
That is a
has
big
that, then
problem in multiple genres. We're facing that in film. There's a lot of movies, like even the short ones from like the 30s, that are being lost to time because nobody's backing them up, or the copyright expires or the companies go under and they just lose that stuff. Video game industry, same there. I think music is going to be the next really big one that gets hit with that because there's already lost media for music to begin with because not everything can be transferred. And these things that are hard copy are not being preserved in like the way that they should be anymore because it's like, well, these new bands and these new rappers are the ones that are making us money. These guys back here are kind of old school. They're not making as much. We can put them on the back burners. They're not upkeeping anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way things have evolved, like, even if you do have a lot of your favorite songs saved on a tape, it's hard to find a tape player, unless you go on a pawn shop or a DVD player, or the way things are evolving, it makes it hard, like we listened to 8 tracks when I was little.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know a lot of people, me included, that still have 8 tracks, but you have absolutely nothing to listen to them on.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of, you know, it's not much good without it, a source to play it on. So,
Mhm.
It's
but
kind of crazy to me, because like you can still find MP3 players out there, like at like stores. But the
Mhm.
crazy thing is, it's harder to find like a CD player, even though we have
Mhm.
access to the batteries. You know what I mean? Like it's such a
Yeah.
weird thing that like those, and we sell CDs still. That's the crazy part. We still sell
Mhm.
the CDs. CD players are obsolete.
Still sell records.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I understand that, the CDs are mostly for the car or whatever, or like if you have like a CD player at your house, but it's still kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like that CD players like aren't readily available despite the fact that we still have this demand for the physical copy. I think that that's going to get burned away pretty soon. I
Mhm.
mean, Bert can tell you like the listening online is like the way that like almost everybody does it now. I
Oh yeah.
I I barely know anybody outside of me that uses, like, CDs or, like, stuff like that now.
That's pretty tough on the artists too, because then they're kind of at the whim of these big streaming companies because people aren't really buying the music directly.
Well, we
Because
are, and the music companies don't even pay you anymore. Like Spotify
yeah,
pays you like a fucking 16th of a cent per stream or some shit.
oof,
Wow.
It's like an
Yeah.
insanely low number, and they lowered it like recently, kind of. So yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to be like Ariana fucking Grande to make any type of money from
yeah.
streaming.
At that point,
All
you're
of your
really
money
not making
now
money
comes from live
towards.
shows.
Yep. Hmm.
Hmm.
And
Which
then
is even
even the
it's
live shows now, like the music scene, like here in LA especially, it's like a pay to play situation, and it always is. It doesn't matter how many people you bring to the set, the ticket price, like the minimum that you have to require or that you have to get in order to make money. Like, are you guys familiar with like what booking a show and like
Oh,
how
not
the
at all.
how the payout works and everything?
No, 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 I would like for you to explain it, though, that would be interesting.
So like say my manager hits me up and she's like, "Oh, we have the show at Molly Malone's or whatever." Actually, I'll read it to you right now cuz I have so many emails from her about shows, and you can see kind of how it sounds. But so she'll hit me up and she'll say like, booking a show, here's all the set times available for the venues and blah blah blah, like, and she'll give you the next few months worth of available set times for different rooms and different venues and things like that. So say I want to play at the Viper Room. Viper Room is an insanely iconic venue. Like, if you play at the Viper Room, you are it. But so you have to sell your own tickets. You have to market yourself. You have to make your own promotional flyer or whatever. And then you only receive money. You only receive your ticket sales after you sell $300 worth of tickets. And tickets are $10. So you
Hmm.
have to sell 30 tickets to be able to receive any amount of money from the tickets that you went out and sold. Even if you go out and sell 20 tickets, you spent time, money, whatever, making the flyer, doing your marketing, all of this stuff. You get 20 people to buy tickets. You don't see a fucking dime of that. And then you have to pay the venue the remaining amount of money to be able to play there.
Damn, you really got to sell it out.
You have to pay for the rest of those tickets in order to play there.
Wow.
And so you get like a 30-minute set, and then like, so for Viper Room specifically, there's like 2 different areas, you know, like they have a main stage and then they have a little lounge area, and you have to be able to sell like, you know, 20 tickets for the lounge area, but the lounge area only fits like 20 people. So it's like you can't pack that venue because it's just like everything is so kind of inconvenient, and you have to do everything yourself, and like you still don't make any money off of it. It's impossible for smaller artists to do anything until they blow up.
Shame.
That sounds brutal.
And even then, like, your booking manager, so like for mine it's Angela Frost. She does like most of the booking for Hollywood. She you have to reach out to her to get your payment. Like, she's not just gonna fucking pay you. Like, she's gonna wait for you to text her and be like, hey, I'm waiting on my payment.
Oh wow.
I had to do that with her the other day. I was like, hey, so you still haven't paid me from the show. And she was like, oh, here you go. I'll send you, you know, and I made like $30 or like $35 off of it or some shit.
Jeez.
It's like, was it
Wow.
worth all of the money that I spent on this outfit that I had spent on my drinks? You know, it's like, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Probably be better to find an outdoor amphitheater or something where you don't have to pay anybody.
But I mean, you still have to pay for that. You still got to pay to be able to play there. You know, you get permits and shit. You're
That's
paid,
hella.
but just in a different way.
Yeah.
Phase, you really kind of have to grind your way up to really make it.
Yeah, you really do. Unless you just get fucking lucky, dude.
Unless a lot of
Yeah,
people
some of the
have-
best bands started in, little, you know, holes in the walls.
Yep.
Fuck, what band was it? There's a band. They did an interview. It was an '80s band.
You
I know
have to narrow it
Damn,
down.
I don't remember which one it was. I want to say that it was Def Leppard, but I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'm not full versed on them. But they were like, yeah, one of our first shows, the lead singer like went to the bathroom, and while he was in the bathroom, somebody was getting fucked in in the stall next to him,
Oh my
and he
God.
realized how low he had sank already. And I was like, oh my god.
Jesus.
Well,
Lord.
you got to start somewhere.
I mean,
As long as they're listening.
I guess.
Yeah, they were. I bet they were. No, they weren't. I guarantee you, they weren't actually. They were. They were listening to
That's crazy.
something else.
Well, that's
They
a
were
lot of.
listening to Careless Whisper in there.
Oh my God.
Well, I think a lot of like bands, especially like 70s and 80s bands, I think a lot of them started out that way. They just played in like anywhere they could find, like garages and, people's parties and, just anywhere they could think of. Because basically back then it was just word of mouth. People would, they'd go to wherever they could, and, more people would start listening to them.
You know,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, I feel like social media has helped, but also hurt, like promotional stuff, because it's more readily available. But at the same time, there's so much going on the internet that like you can put out like I'm sure Bert can tell you this. If you put out like hey, I put this out this week, or hey, I'm working on this. This will be out at this date. It just gets lost kind of in like the sea of like notifications, or like the sea of like information that's just readily available on like even say
Oh yeah,
Facebook.
well, that's why as an artist, there's a rule that you don't start promotion until a week before the drop, because people will forget about it. That's like
Yeah,
a thing. People's attention spans are so small. Oh my God.
and if you start before that, you better just keep it. You better keep that pressure on the entire time.
Yeah.
And that's still not a guarantee that your ads or like your promotional material is going to be seen,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or that it'll reach the audience that you want. That's one of the other problems that I've seen people complaining about, is that like their like audience isn't the ones that are getting the like ads. It's going to be like the ones that like don't really listen to that kind of music.
But once you get a core fan base, they'll be looking.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the good thing about having a fan. Like, once your fan base actually starts growing, I think that's the good thing, is like those people are going to continuously look for new music from you, or like new like albums coming out from your stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it helps if you have like a place where different bands can go. You know, like that place in LA. I don't know if it's still around, but that Whiskey a Go Go place. A lot of
Oh,
the
yeah.
70s and yeah, a lot of the 70s and 80s artists, you know, they went there to play, you know, even 60s, 60s, 70s, you know, and yeah, I think it helps when you have somewhere where you can go and people can just listen to your music and then they can determine whether they like you or not. But
Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys? So I heard like, I think mom kind of disputed this earlier, but a lot of people say that you stop looking for new music at a certain age. Like your musical tastes kind of cement, and you're not like really looking for anything new.
Some people that does happen to.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
like with you know, like my mom, you know, she had like a certain type of music she listened to, and she wasn't listening to anything else. She didn't care.
Yeah.
If somebody told her something was good, well, I don't listen to that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, you know, she listened to, you know, she listened to her, you know, her mid 50s music and her instrumentals, and that's all she cared about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember we had that oldies but goodies CD that we would listen to all the time.
Yeah, but
Gotcha.
And that was like my favorite shit.
I do recall that she said that you and Matthew turned her on to CCR, so
Oh
she
yeah.
liked them.
Oh yeah.
But and that was big for her because you know she just you know she was
Yeah, she loved them.
Yeah, she did.
See, I'm kind of the
but yeah.
opposite. I get musically bored. Like if I
Me
listen to
too.
the same thing too long, I'll be like, all right, I need to find something new to kind of
Not
I
me,
think
honey.
playlist a little more.
I think I have the benefit of ADHD, where like I hyperfixate on something for a while. So like sometimes I'll like hyperfixate on a band. Death Clock was a really good example of
Oh
that.
gosh.
Whenever I was watching
What the hell?
Metalocalypse,
Yep.
um, I got hooked on them for a while. Linkin Park, whenever I actually got to a point where I was actually listening to them the first
Mhm.
time,
One of the
Mhm.
best rock band of
extremely
all time,
fixated. Iggy
at least
Pop
from that era.
for a bit, I was hooked on. But I do hit a fatigue at some point, but it takes a long time. Like uh not shitting on their new stuff, but Black Veil Brides recently I kind of hit like a little bit of a fatigue, so I've kind of taken a step back from listening to them until they put out their next album, and then
Mhm.
I'll probably go back. But
I heard
like
it. That was
an excellent example of my music fatigue is Rise Against. Not to shit on them at all, but like if you listen to one Rise Against song, you've kind of listened to all of them. You
Mhm.
know, unfortunately, they are one of those bands, despite them having good messages a lot of the time. And do not
Yeah.
get me started on Five Finger Death Punch.
Don't.
Who was
Just
that?
Because old Five Finger
not
Death
a good
Punch
band.
old Five Finger Death Punch changed my life. I don't know what this new bullshit is.
It's,
Mm.
They they've we kind of call that, what is it, divorced dad music. It's
It's
kind of
divorced.
yeah,
It's divorced dad rock. It's butt
yeah.
rock.
yeah.
Same with like would you say what, like Three
I
Doors
picture
Down and all
somebody
them?
butt chugging to Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh my god.
It's butt rock.
Yeah.
Creed.
Creed. I love Creed. Me and Jared love Creed.
I'm not gonna jump on the hate train of this band, but I will say that I don't like a lot of their music just because it doesn't hit my personal taste. But again, I like
For
more
me,
of
it's a
like the
nostalgia
punky
thing.
stuff. But Nickelback, I'm not a huge fan of. But I don't
Oh,
think that
come
they're a
on.
bad band by any means.
Look at this photograph.
I think they definitely had some bangers and they deserve the credit for, what they've done. But they're just not a band that's for me. But I'm not gonna jump on the hate wagon necessarily and being like, oh, they're a shit band.
I had
Yeah.
a radio in my room next to my bed, and that thing never turned off.
Oh yeah.
And it was on the same rock station we had in Rocky Point, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
That it would play the same songs over and over, but it was always like that sort of rock music and like, God, what was it? It was by 3 a.m.
Oh damn.
They would play that same track every morning when I got up. What was this? Life is Beautiful. They played that song like
Oh my god, shut up.
they would not stop playing that song.
Dude, the coolest so in high school, the way that I got around, mom and dad had like they weren't really big on like heavy metal, but the way I got around that was that 88.5 The Edge played
Yeah.
Christian music quotation mark, but they would have like they had Korn on there, they had like
Mhm.
Slipknot a few times. They had like
Mhm.
1,000 Foot Crutch. They had like a bunch of like just random bands on there that like were not at all
Little bit of
like.
Flyleaf mixed in.
Yeah, dude. That was the first time I heard Paramore was on that
Paramore,
radio
goat.
station.
Oh, I love
Um,
Paramore.
yeah. So like there was Linkin Park. That was the first time I ever heard them.
They're the
Um,
band that got me into rock in general because I was mainly into like rap back in the day.
I
Yeah.
think I think more modern music. I think Evanescence was the first modern music that I actually heard because of The Matrix.
Bro, I'll tell you that Amy Lee, she was like the main reason for me getting into singing.
She is a bad bitch, dude.
She's the first one who really, not the first one, but she was like my biggest influence at like when I was a young girl in choir, wanting to like be a singer. She was like everything
Her
to me.
her vocal range, dude, is insane.
Oh yeah.
Like honestly, probably one of my favorite female vocalists of all time.
Mhm. I
She
definitely
did
agree.
they just did a songbird for Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Sick song too. Love it.
You talking about the anime? Or are you talking
Yeah.
about the Oh, nice. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, they did a song for it. It's like all over their promotional stuff, which is hilarious because they have music from the games in there. But Evanescence stole the spotlight, which is amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
As they should have. They've got Papa Roach in there.
I
The Lip
love that.
Biscuits on there.
I love Limp Bizkit. You could never make me hate Fred Durst. I'm sorry.
Man, I need another band like Tool to come up.
No doubt. Now, Tool was probably, I would say, because Tool is my number 2 favorite band. Pink Floyd number 1, Tool number
Oh,
2,
Pink
Tame
Floyd,
Impala
amazing.
number 3, and then everybody else, it doesn't matter. They're all even. But those are the ones for me. Tool got me through some of the hardest points in my teenage life.
It's interesting that you say Pink Floyd because I feel like that goes back to us talking about messages and like the vibe music. Because
Mhm.
if you're not like actually listening to what they're saying, you can just vibe. But if you're listening to what they're saying, you can like they have some kind of message normally, like
Yeah.
or a story. I feel like they're a really good band that gets kind of stereotyped just because they're like psychedelic.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Not even always psychedelic either. I've heard some of their acoustic stuff is pretty good.
Mhm. No, all their shit's really good.
Oh yeah. My favorite is literally Comfortably Numb. That is
Yeah.
like one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, Comfortably Numb is great.
See, Matt's muted himself because he thinks he can escape. You can't
You
escape
can't escape
talking.
the pod.
You have to talk on the pod, Matt.
Oh no, I have background noise occasionally, so I just kind of unmute when I speak.
You were in the bathroom, weren't you? That's okay.
Oh no.
Oh, she said you were taking a shit. Everybody, Smokey's over here taking a shit.
Coast to coast, tune into the stars.